Welcome back to Satisfactory. I'm so glad you're here. Let's finish up this blueprint first of all. Actually, let's set this up. We want to finish blueprint. Select the site. And I think start the foundation. That's probably as far as we're going to get. Let me see if I can whip this around the corner here. We want this to go down. But we want the stuff from above to get merged on. Not bad. Once it's all merged together, we can ship it straight out. And then we gotta supply fused and modular engines. That's what's left. Yeah. Let's get this named and saved. These don't have to be exactly these, but some of these are required to be exactly, so might as well. Modular frame, cooling systems already supplied, turbo motors made in the blueprint, modular engine. Perfect. I think we just need a spot where we can do the lifting. I feel obligated to kind of do it on the side for some reason. I feel like it'll give me more space to angle. Come on. Getting this to split might be a challenge. Maybe if we drop it down a bit. Oh, wait a minute. One of these needs to go. In. Up. All the way up to the top. I guess technically I should keep it on the same level. So which one am I actually doing right now? This one right here. Look, I'm mostly on the ceiling here. Then we'll just drop it straight in. And we have that flat part that we can use as a splitter point. And we'll drop kind of farther down. Right about here. Beautiful, perfect, done. So now the question is, where do we build this thing? There's really two potential locations. And how many of them do we want to build? Surely we don't have a full digital uploader 100%. Uh-oh. Our digital uploader might be 100% full. Sheesh. Well, so one of the places, wow, that is a lot. We're gonna have to come by here and get some of these power slugs. There's a lot of them on that side of that hill. Oh boy. So I could build it here. Primary advantage of building it here. There's already a lot of stuff kind of already around this area. If I were to look at the turbo motor, we need the cooling devices. We need the radios. We need the motors. We need the rubber. We need the engines. I mean, a good chunk of the stuff is relatively close. We'd have to run some crazy belts from over here, under here. We could put it on another circular thing here. We can actually put a really small, kind of like what we did here. A little short tower right here. And then we would have to import cooling devices. That's almost all of it. I mean, cooling devices we have to import. Turbo motors are made locally in the blueprint itself. The engines and the frames are all local to this location. Then if I look at the turbo motor, we'd have to import the radios. But the motors, and you have to import the rubber. You have to import the rubber no matter what. Yeah, we should build it here. We would just have to bring in fewer things. Gotta grab a few potential screenshots. I should probably make it about the same number. Seven. Two more. Our lack of fused frames is going to be controversial either way. I might have to build an exclusive casing factory or something. Anytime you can grab a summer sloop, I think you gotta do it. 3 on each side to make 7. Okay. How should I do this? I guess at the end of the day, I could probably just build the tower and then it'll be a whole thing just to... Is this the right size? This looks weird. Hold on, let me do some measurement here. Yeah, it is one extra. I'm glad I checked that. There we go. Base plus 3. I think I'm gonna go plus 4. I think I'm gonna change my mind and go base plus 3. That extra one feels very much like an extra one. I know we got at least 7 items that we need to collect on the input side. And then we probably want to collect a few thermal rockets over here on the side. Could be interesting if we could connect it right here. But I'll leave that to be a future finishing episode. Let me get the conveyor wall in place. Technically, we want one for thermal rockets as well. Turbo motors and thermal rockets. We'll decide later which one of those is connected. Doesn't have to be one or the other immediately. The 1 meter foundation always makes the best floor. And the best roof. Makes the best roof floor. So the question is, how many thermal rockets do I want to try to make in one shot? 10? Ten's probably too many. 5 is probably enough. I'm not just saying that because it's turning into a massive shopping list. Let's trace in some fuse frames. It would be nice to use the bottom line again, but I'm guessing that bottom line is being used for these conversion cubes. Where do we have this dismantle crate? I'm going to try not to let that bother me right now. I could theoretically sushi belt it, but I'm not gonna. That would be insane at this point. Then we just have to split this. Congrats to me on labeling that. I still really can't drop these fused anywhere except for in the factory so I can fully trace and check my work. One of these rows of copper powder is full? That's surprising. We need 6 inputs. And theoretically 2 outputs, but we actually don't need turbo motors for any other part of the factory, at least as far as I know. Really? That's the absolute length of it, huh? Let's put down a good old-fashioned... Well, one way to do it would be to just use these 3. That should hook it up in one shot. I'm so happy with how I organized this other one. At least this way, if something is empty, you'll know which one it is. Why aren't we seeing the fused frames here? That's not good. It was a hot belt to the end there. We'll just grab a few fused frames and put them in place. All right, see, they're making their way up here. Oh, you know what it is? This thing isn't powered, so it won't accept any inputs. Annoying, but true. There we go. Now he's taking him in. Okay, I was worried there for a second that the fuse frames weren't making their way back up to here. What I have noticed is that these conveyor holes don't have the same level of... You can't see through them like you can the walls with the conveyor holes built in. Probably not a reason not to use them, but it's worth noting nonetheless. All right, I think I'm kind of like 50% back, so we're gonna go with a 50% video today. We're gonna stick it with a half hour. We got the basics built, and we got one item connected. The other stuff is motors and engines. The only bad part about that is that those exist halfway across the region. But we do have them, and we have them both. And we've got a bunch ready to go on top of that. So that's where we could pull motors from. I could do another diagonal that's nothing but supplies straight into here. And here's where we have a bunch of engine stuff. If I did that diagonal idea, I could just run it the opposite direction. It doesn't have to go all the way around. I can just run it short. Those are all decisions we can make in the next episode. But it's nice to know that we have all the motors and engines. All the local stuff is local. And then we could put in a couple of more drone situations. Let's see how close we are to that thought. Well, we need to fly in 3 items. The cooling, the radios, and the rubber. Yeah, this is unfortunate because exactly half of the items had to be flown in either way you look at it. And then rubber had to be flown in no matter what. So there's really no upside to doing it in either place, except for I feel like diffused would be somehow more of an annoyance. Either way, I think we've got a plan for next time. We'll do another kind of a diagonal deal here. We'll go out that way. Ooh. That diagonal deal is going to be rough. It might work. We'll have to see where it collides. It's also going to be a power destroyer, though our power is getting back to where it needs to be. That's going to kick on all the engines, all the motors, and all the stuff that's currently not running to support all the engines and all the motors. I'm surprised to see one of these backing up. They are getting 87% efficiency. All right, yeah, it's going to be interesting once we kick all this stuff on. 'Cause that's going to be a huge amount of things moving. But we'll figure that out in the next episode. Thanks for hanging out. I do appreciate it. We'll see you next time.